As the global geopolitical landscape becomes increasingly volatile, China's leaders are positioning the nation as a bastion of stability amid the upheaval caused by President Donald Trump's administration. With the United States embroiled in a trade war and the erosion of its international prestige, China is seizing the opportunity to assert itself as a reliable power on the world stage. Last week, as Trump delivered a contentious address to a joint session of Congress, the National People's Congress (NPC) convened in Beijing, showcasing China's tightly controlled political environment. This annual gathering offers insights into China's domestic priorities and its foreign policy intentions. Despite facing economic headwinds including a slowing growth rate and persistent youth unemployment, China's leadership is emphasizing its commitment to stability and cooperation, even as it prepares for potential escalation with the U.S. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's press conference was marked by a notable emphasis on the concept of stability, a term he used at least 14 times during a 90-minute session. His remarks underscored a clear message directed at the Trump administration, particularly in light of the recent doubling of tariffs on Chinese imports to 20%. No country should expect to suppress and contain China on one hand while developing good relations with China on the other, Wang stated, condemning what he termed a two-faced approach. China's response to the renewed tariffs has been both measured and strategic. Following Trump's announcement, China imposed targeted tariffs of up to 15% on various U.S. goods, particularly in the agricultural sector. This calculated retaliation reflects a shift in China's approach since the onset of the first trade war under Trump, as officials now exhibit a readiness to engage in a tit-for-tat strategy while maintaining a facade of calm. Appearing alarmed or alarmist is not something Beijing wants to communicate, noted Joseph Gregory Mahoney, a political analyst at East China Normal University. China's leadership appears to have learned valuable lessons from previous interactions with the Trump administration. As the U.S. embarks on a path of unilateralism and protectionism, China is positioning itself as a counterbalance, advocating for a multipolar world and seeking to strengthen trade relationships beyond its traditional partners. Premier Li Qiang reaffirmed a target for economic growth of 5% and emphasized China's commitment to expanding its network of high-standard free trade agreements. This approach is not without its challenges. China grapples with significant internal economic difficulties, including a struggling property market and declining consumer spending. However, analysts suggest that China's diversified trade relationships and strategic investments in technology and education have better prepared it to weather the storm of U.S. tariffs compared to previous years. The evolving dynamics between the U.S. and China are not merely economic but reflect deeper ideological divides. As Trump emphasizes an America First policy, experts warn that the U.S. risks alienating itself from global cooperative efforts. Wang Yi highlighted this concern, contrasting the U.S.'s retreat from international agreements such as the Paris Climate Accord with China's willingness to engage with global challenges collaboratively. As tensions escalate, the broader ramifications of this trade conflict extend beyond tariffs and trade balances. With China asserting itself as a global leader, the implications for international relations and global governance structures are profound. The current trajectory suggests a further entrenchment of opposing spheres of influence, with China positioning itself as the defender of a rules-based order in stark contrast to the U.S.'s increasingly isolationist stance. Looking ahead, the interplay between the U.S. and China will be pivotal in shaping not only the economic landscape but also the geopolitical order. The outcome of this rivalry will likely define the future of international relations, with both nations navigating a complex web of competition, cooperation, and confrontation as they vie for influence on the global stage. As China continues to project an image of stability and resilience, the world watches closely, anticipating how these developments will unfold in the coming months and years. In a rapidly shifting global landscape, China is positioning itself as a bastion of stability while the United States grapples with internal and external challenges under President Donald Trump. As Trump's administration intensifies its trade wars and undermines long-standing alliances, China is seizing the opportunity to project itself as a reliable alternative on the world stage. This strategic pivot comes despite its own economic slowdown, revealing a calculated response to the uncertainties created by U.S. policies. During a recent address to Congress, Trump reiterated his America First agenda, which has seen tariffs on Chinese imports nearly double to 20%. This aggressive stance has not only stirred tensions between the U.S. and China but has also heightened anxieties among U.S. allies. In stark contrast, China's leaders convened for the annual National People's Congress (NPC) in Beijing, where they emphasized the importance of stability and continuity in their governance and economic policies. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made headlines during a press conference by using the term stability over a dozen times, underscoring the Communist Party's commitment to maintaining order amidst external pressures. No country should expect to suppress and contain China on one hand while developing good relations with China on the other, Wang stated, unequivocally condemning what he characterized as a duplicitous approach by the U.S. While the U.S. continues to escalate its tariffs, with Trump promising to impose reciprocal tariffs on both allies and adversaries alike, China appears unperturbed. Tech executive Yao Lijun, reflecting the sentiments of many delegates at the NPC, remarked, "We only focus on ourselves, how we can do much better. We don't worry about others." This attitude highlights China's strategy of self-reliance and resilience as it prepares for the long-term implications of the ongoing trade conflict. Analysts suggest that China has learned valuable lessons from its previous encounters with the Trump administration. Unlike the initial shock of the first trade war, Beijing's current response is characterized by a mix of measured retaliation and readiness for prolonged negotiation. As Sun Yun, director of the China program at the Stimson Center, noted, as Washington escalates the tariff, Beijing doesn't see other options but to retaliate. This sentiment is echoed by experts who recognize China's shift towards a more assertive and calculated diplomatic posture. China has already enacted targeted tariffs on U.S. agricultural products, signaling its readiness to respond swiftly to U.S. trade measures. The Chinese government's approach reflects a broader strategic objective: to maintain its economic growth trajectory and enhance its global standing despite external challenges. Premier Li Qiang reaffirmed a target economic growth rate of 5% for the year, indicating a steady commitment to progress amid an increasingly complex global trade environment. The implications of this evolving dynamic extend beyond U.S.-China relations. Canada, caught in the crossfire of the trade war, has found itself facing retaliatory tariffs from China, including a 100% levy on certain products. This development illustrates the ripple effects of U.S. trade policies as Canada attempts to navigate its relationships with both the U.S. and China. As Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expresses frustration over the situation, experts point out that Canada's initial actions aligning with U.S. tariffs against China have only exacerbated its predicament. In the face of these challenges, China is seeking to strengthen its trade relationships with other nations, positioning itself as a leader willing to cooperate on global issues such as climate change. This contrasts sharply with the perception of the U.S. under Trump, which has retreated from multilateral agreements and international norms. The evolving geopolitical landscape suggests that as the U.S. grapples with its internal divisions and external pressures, China is poised to fill the leadership void and project its influence globally. As this narrative unfolds, the world will be watching closely to see how both nations navigate this intricate web of trade diplomacy and economic strategy, with the potential for further escalations and retaliations looming. The future of international relations will hinge on the capacity of both the U.S. and China to find common ground amid growing tensions. In an era marked by escalating geopolitical tensions, the balance of maritime power is shifting dramatically, with China significantly outpacing the United States in both military and commercial ship numbers. Recent reports indicate that while the U.S. Navy maintains its reputation as the most formidable naval force globally in terms of firepower and tonnage, the sheer number of ships is dwindling, raising alarms about national security and maritime readiness. During a recent announcement, former President Donald Trump emphasized the urgent need to revitalize American shipbuilding, which he described as essential for national security. "Our shipbuilding industry is shrunk down to bare minimum right now," lamented Marine Corps Commandant General Eric Smith in an exclusive interview. This sentiment echoes through the corridors of military and industry leaders who have expressed grave concerns about the current state of U.S. naval capabilities. As of 2025, the United States possesses 296 ships in its fleet, while China's naval forces are on track to exceed 400. This stark contrast underscores a troubling trend. Despite a goal to expand its fleet, the U.S. has seen a net loss of ships due to insufficient funding and decommissioning of outdated vessels. The fiscal 2025 budget allocates resources for just 6 new ships while allowing for the retirement of 19, resulting in a net loss of 13 vessels. This declining trajectory raises questions about the U.S.'s capacity to respond to emerging threats on the global stage. Moreover, the shipbuilding industry in the United States has been grappling with fluctuating demand linked to inconsistent Navy budgets. Industry executives report that many companies are operating at half capacity due to the scarcity of Navy contracts, leading to layoffs and a shrinking supplier base. "There's thousands and thousands of suppliers that have gone out of business, and it's a real risk," warned George Whittier, CEO of Fairbanks Morse Defense. This situation not only threatens the supply of critical components but also endangers the workforce as skilled workers seek more stable employment opportunities elsewhere. Compounding these challenges is the broader issue of maintenance delays, exacerbated by the lack of timely congressional budgeting. The reliance on continuing resolutions has hampered new project initiations and stifled the growth of the shipbuilding sector. Senator Mark Kelly, a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, noted, "We've taken our eye off the ball here," acknowledging the detrimental impact of budgetary gridlock on military readiness. In addition to military shipbuilding, the commercial shipping sector is also facing a crisis. The U.S. commercial fleet has dwindled from approximately 10,000 ships during World War II to a mere 85 today. Senator Kelly advocates for the Ships for America Act, a bipartisan initiative aimed at increasing the U.S. commercial fleet by 250 ships over the next decade. This legislation seeks to enhance the supply chain for military vessels and provide tax incentives to bolster domestic shipbuilding capacity. As the U.S. grapples with these maritime challenges, the implications for national security are profound. The ability to project power and ensure logistical support in times of conflict is increasingly jeopardized by a shrinking naval fleet and a faltering shipbuilding industry. Looking ahead, the pressing need for reform in budgetary processes and strategic investment in shipbuilding will be critical to reversing these trends and maintaining a competitive edge in maritime capabilities. With global maritime dynamics continuously evolving, the U.S. must act decisively to adapt to these challenges. The interdependence of military and commercial shipbuilding suggests that a robust strategy to revitalize both sectors is not only prudent but essential for safeguarding national interests in an increasingly multipolar world. The future of American maritime power hinges on the ability to foster a resilient shipbuilding industry capable of meeting the demands of a complex and rapidly changing geopolitical landscape.